Spock's brain is an episode that gets mocked a lot, and it's largely seen as the weakest, if not the weakest, of the original series. But I like the show. I don't care what people say. There's probably some others that I would argue might be a little weaker. I remind people. The idea that you could take someone's brain out and then put it back in, it does get silly at the end in that tidbit of detail, but the overall idea of this futuristic setting with technologies from alien worlds that is far beyond what we're capable of is perfectly fine. And also, as I was saying, need I remind them that Star Trek all along has incredible technologies that we don't know are even possible. We know the idea of warping space would be necessary to travel those distances that they do. But how do you achieve that? They apparently burn dilithium crystals, to achieve this. But most importantly, you have the transporter and the replicator. Both of these devices is basically the power of God, and it's relatively just accepted. The transporter, of course, was the means by which to get around the expense of having to film scenes of shuttlecraft leaving the ship and landing on a planet. They did do it, but they thought this would be a cheaper way of doing it. They came up with the idea of, well, they could just teleport down from the ship and say, okay, let's do that. And it became one of the cooler aspects of Star Trek. The problem is you're dealing with the transporter and the replicator and the idea that you can take any form of matter, especially with the replicator, just take a brick, if you will, rearrange the molecules, and now it's meatloaf. And in the case of the transporter, you're basically completely disintegrating the human body, and then based on the computer's mapping of your molecular structure, reassembles you back down on the planet as it turns you into light and zaps you down there. Now, this actually comes up when we get to the animated series, where there's a scene where another scene where their life force gets drained by these women who are basically leeches of some sort, and they age rapidly. And then they're like, oh no, they managed to save them, but they're stuck in the aged bodies, And then Spock says, well, you know what? We could just use the transporter to restore us to the patterns that's already in there from when we first beamed down. So they do it, and it works. Well, of course it works. It's regarded, it just rearranges them and puts them back to the way they were. I would wonder if that means they don't remember and that sort of thing of what just happened. But nevertheless, that's what they do. And it stands to reason that quite a few of these crewmen in red shirts that get killed, just run them through the transporter and bring them back. So it's kind of a plot hole in there. So when things like this come along, where it's like Spock's brain, and it sounds like the title of a 50s sci-fi B movie and that sort of thing, yeah, I get that. But I don't think that's enough to trash it, It's a demonstration of Kirk's devotion to Spock and his friends, and he's going to stop at nothing to save them and all that because he's this heroic character. And all that's good stuff. And of course, the girls are really cute. They're in their go-go outfits. And it's this weird thing about what happened. There's all this stuff about, it's left up to the imagination. What happened to this world? Why is it this way? And it's another planet that ends up being dominated by a computer. And somebody's brain was put into that computer to operate all their systems, and kept the women divided from the men. They don't know about each other really, and the women are completely airhead who follow the instructions of the machine, and they'll go get the men and pretty much enslave them to, I'm sure, procreate with. And but if the men don't cooperate, well, they get punished. So that's why they're referred to, as the givers of delight and pain. So something happened to this world. to where the men are pretty much in the Stone Age, living like cavemen on the surface, and the women are in their shiny go-go outfits, but they're all very stupid. They don't understand anything. They're very childlike in their mind, except there's a catch. There is this ability to impart the knowledge of the computer system into them temporarily, and that's the means by which Dr. McCoy volunteers to use this device to figure out the techniques of restoring Spock's brain. So the Enterprise encounters this ship, and they don't know what it is, and then suddenly this woman in the go-go outfit teleports on there, knocks them all out. She just has this thing on her wrist, and it kind of winks out the power of the Enterprise as well, and then she abducts Spock. They wake up, they discover, and Spock's in the sick bay, and his head is empty. Bones has put him up on life support, and if he had been a human being, he would have died, but his Vulcan's physique lasts much longer. So they're able to keep him alive, at least the body, but there's no brain, you know. So Kirk does the investigation. They find an ion trail. They're able to figure out where they went, and he goes there. And there's this creepiness where Spock kind of looks like a Frankenstein monster because they have to hook him up with something to get him to move and make his motor functions work and all of that. And it's actually kind of an interesting thing scene-wise, because they get attacked by the girls again, and the pain is so great they double over and pass out. It never affects Spock because there's nothing there. So it's just interesting and cool moments there and all of that, and how this even more stone cold look of Spock's face as he just stands there and stares, you know. Meanwhile, Spock's brain has become the heart of this computer system. He is aware of breathing and all this stuff, but it's the whole complex that he's running. And he pretty much says, well, I guess I'm stuck here. And apparently he can live on for, I think they said 10,000 years or something like that as the brain of this complex. And that's what she was sent to do. And that's it. They're just going to keep existing in their really stupid existence like they are, with this computer system just maintaining everything. So, well, Kirk's not going to have that. He wants Spock back, and he's just going to destroy the world. Now, hey, doesn't that violate the Prime Directive? Well, clearly at one point they did have a highly advanced technology, and they have they're spacefaring. They have the ability, their engines, and Scotty mentions how they could teach us a thing or two with their ion engines and all that. So at one point they were a warp-capable society. So I guess technically, under the rules, it doesn't really count as a violation of the Prime Directive, so because Kirk clearly interferes with the setup of these people, much to Spock's objections, but of course they restore. Now, the restoration, and of course the knowledge within the computer, Bones is able to access it, but it's temporary and it begins to fade. This is done to have some amount of tension and whatnot, and suspense, but I mean, it gets really silly. And so Kirk says, hey, maybe Spock can help, so connect his vocal cords. So Spock's laying there with his head open, I imagine, and tells Bones what to do. And, well, it works, of course, and everything's fine. And the girl said, oh, we're going to lose everything. And Kirk tells her, nah, don't worry. We'll send some guys over here to set you up. This is another one of these where you could follow up on. I think there's quite a few episodes like The Guardian of Forever, which, yes, I know, was followed up on very badly in STD. You know, maybe I'll talk about that at some other time. But anyway, so that would be some technology you think the Federation would want to secure. The Doomsday Machine is one. And here is all this information that's stored in that computer that people could access off and on and learn about. And it's apparently more advanced than what the Federation had at the time. So and yet it's just never mentioned again, and unless there was some order to leave them alone at this point, but I don't see how, because they're not going to have the way they were living before, because there's no brain inside the computer to run it. So don't know, but it is an interesting thing that one of those aspects of it's just all this very powerful technology just laying around, and it seems like somebody could follow up on that, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. And follow up on it in a clever way, which that hasn't happened either. Maybe it's just best to leave well enough alone. Anyway, there you go, Spock's brain, which what would they do without it? Be in a lot of trouble. But I like the episode. I don't think it deserves the treatment that it's gotten all these years. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.